10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 315. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 315 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. Welcome back in. Hope you're ready for another episode on our Essential Jazz Theory series. This series is really built around taking some of the essential things that you need to know about jazz theory and putting them into a practical context. So not just teaching you the theory, but giving you a path forward on how you can, when you understand these concepts, actually use them. And that's what today's episode is going to be all about. We're going to talk about deceptive cadences again, but I'm going to talk about what I think is one of the most important things to understand when you're actually playing about deceptive cadences. But before we jump in, just wanted to remind you that this is a listener-supported podcast, which means we don't have any advertisements on the show except for this one. And the way that we support the show is by small monthly donations from listeners just like you. We use the Patreon platform. And again, for a small monthly donation, you do get a PDF and audio examples with every single episode. And at this point, that's 315 PDFs waiting over there for you to add to your jazz education library. When you sign up, you do get instant access. So just go to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, and get yourself signed up today. Wanted to give a quick shout out to some new patrons this week. Thank you to our new $5 patron, Ferruccio, and thank you to our new $3 patron, Amanda. Welcome to the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson family. Also, thank you to the over 350 members we have over there. You really are the reason that this show keeps going, and I hope you're enjoying all your jazz education materials. So again, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, get yourself signed up today. All right, without further ado, let's dive into today's lesson. So what I want to talk about today is I want to revisit what we talked about last week, particularly one part of it. Last week, we talked about the difference between an authentic cadence and a deceptive cadence. And what I want to do is I want to zoom in on those deceptive cadences, but point out something a little bit different that I think is truly one of the most important concepts when it comes to taking your improvisation to the next level. So we talked about how to find and recognize deceptive cadences. And I particularly want to talk about those tritone deceptive cadences. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go back and listen to episode 314 where I talk about the difference between authentic cadence and a deceptive cadence and give a bunch of examples that will really prime you for this episode. Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty. So I think one of the things that I see the most with students in general that are trying to kind of break through to that next level, that are playing at a really, really good bass level, and they're trying to get some of those more advanced concepts into their playing, get some of that sound of their favorite artists into their own improvisations, is that when it comes to a deceptive cadence, these students, they'll sit around and wait to actually see one. So they're looking at a lead sheet or playing out of the real book, and they think to themselves, and they often bring this question to me, well, I know what the deceptive cadences are, I know what a tritone substitution is, but I never actually see it in the music. And therefore, they never get a chance to actually use it, to apply their knowledge to these really, really interesting, surprising cadences. So I want to clarify that you do not need to wait to see one in the music to actually use something like the tritone substitution. In fact, it will sound better, and kind of the whole point of using it is if you are playing these substitutions, the deceptive cadence, over the top of the rhythm section playing the plain old chords. So I'm going to clarify that a little bit further. We're going to hear what it sounds like when the soloist is actually the one playing the deceptive cadence over the rhythm section playing the authentic cadence. And I want you to really start to hear this stuff and understand that this is one of the hardest parts about improvising, right? Is that you're going to be looking at a different set of changes than you might actually be playing over. So let's clarify this a little bit further. Let's use a real life situation. So if I see on a lead sheet a 2-5 in concert C, so I see D minor 7 to G7 to C major. Okay, that's an authentic cadence. That's a regular 2-5-1. Now, sometimes I might just play over those chords. So I might literally be thinking D minor 7 to G7 to C, and I am going to fit everything that I'm playing into those three chords. But if I'm at a point in my solo where I think it could benefit from being a little bit more adventurous, a little bit more tense, then I am actually in my head going to superimpose one of those deceptive cadences while the rhythm section is playing those chords, the D minor to G to C. Now, if you're playing with a particularly talented rhythm section, they might hear that in real time and actually start to go along with you. But even if they don't, it's okay. You see, these substitutions, these deceptive cadences are actually built so that the notes that you're playing are going to be the useful tensions over the chords that are normally there. You see, and that's what makes jazz improvisation so beautiful and endless, something that you could work on for a lifetime, because everybody's going to choose different things that they are going to play, different substitutions. They're going to use different tensions depending on what your personal preference is, depending on what you like the sound of. So let's get a little bit more practical. So I want you to look at example number 1 on your PDF this week, which is a full tritone substitution. It is superimposing a deceptive cadence over the top of an authentic cadence. So let's look at this step by step. So the rhythm section is going to be playing a regular old D minor chord. What you are going to superimpose over the top is a tritone substitution of that. So you're going to superimpose an A flat minor 7 chord over the top. So rhythm section is playing this. You are playing this. Now, it's very, very kind of shocking to hear, right? But these are the notes that we want. These are the notes that are going to create interest, and we want that clashing. Remember, music is all about tension and release. This is the tension phase, right? Again, listen to it. Those notes don't fit, but that's kind of the point. All right, so going on to measure 2, the rhythm section is going to be playing a G7 chord. And you are going to be playing a D flat 7 chord. Again, a lot of really, really nice tension in there. Right? We think about those notes, how they play off of that. Those are all the tensions that we want. Now, the beauty of this, the thing that makes it all work, is that we, being the soloist, and the rhythm section are both going to play that C major chord at the end of it. So this is the beauty of this, right? So first measure of the 2-5-1, a lot of tension. Second measure, even more tension. Third measure, we're all playing the same thing. Release. So tension, tension, release. That's really what makes this music tick, okay? So embrace that tension, embrace the weirdness, right? How it sounds. Really, really lean into that, because that's what's going to give you an interesting sound as a player. So let's look at example number 2. Now, what we've done in example number 2 is we've actually removed some of the tension. So in the first measure, we're all going to play that 2 chord. And then in the second measure is where all the tension lives. And then in the third measure, we're all playing the same thing, right? So consonance, dissonance, consonance. That's a really, really nice sequence of events, right? But remember, even though the rhythm section is playing that G7 chord in the second measure, you are totally okay to use that tritone substitution, to use that deceptive cadence over the top of it. Let's look at example number 3. So what I've done in example number 3 is over the regular 2-5-1, I've imposed a 3-6, and then instead of a 2-5, I've done a tritone substitution of that 2-5, and then again in the third measure, we resolve all of it. So this is going to give us a different kind of tension. So over the first measure of example number 3, the rhythm section is going to be playing a concert D minor 7 chord, but over the top of it, you are going to play E minor 7. Ooh, that's really nice tension. And then you are going to switch to a concert A7. Again, really, really nice tension. And then over the second measure, the rhythm section is going to be playing a G7. You're going to be playing an A flat minor 7, which we've already heard the sound of. And then you're going to change to a D flat 7. And then we are all going to play that C major together. So there's a good example of tension, tension, release, but we heard a bit of different tension than we heard in the first 2 measures, which is giving us yet more options. So what I've done in the final example, example number 4, is I've done a 3-6-2-5-1, but I've subbed out the 3-6-2-5 with its tritone substitution. So in the first measure, again, rhythm section's playing this. We are going to start out by playing concert B flat minor 7, an even different kind of tension. Then we are going to move to E flat 7, which is a completely different kind of tension. Then the rhythm section is going to change to a concert G7 chord. We're going to play A flat 7, which should start to sound very, very familiar to you at this point. Then we're going to move to our concert D flat 7. And then we're all going to resolve to C major 7. So those 4 examples, if we were to just do it from our point of view as the soloist, here's example number 1, the sound that we will be playing over the top of it. Here's example number 2. Here's example number 3. And here is example number 4. And here's the beauty of this is that if you are really, really good at pulling these lines off and you can play really, really nice lines over these substituted changes, the listener will not so much hear the interaction between the rhythm section and you. They will really hear your line as the guiding light going through there. And it would be very, very interesting when you drop back in with the rhythm section at the resolution point on the 1 chord. This is what really surprises and delights jazz listeners, and this is what makes you actually want to listen to your favorite musicians, whether you're thinking about it in these terms or not. This is a big, big part of what will take you to that next level. So the skills that you are trying to develop here is you have to have a knowledge of deceptive cadences and what they are and how they differ from authentic cadences. And then you have to be adept at looking at a regular 2-5-1 and thinking about other changes. You need to be reharmonizing, inserting those deceptive cadences yourself over the top of this. And this requires a lot of practice and some quick thinking on your part. Now, I know this is just a ton of information that I threw at you. So here's what I want you to actually practice to kind of put a bow on this. I'm going to include a backing track of just a 2-5 in concert C. that's just going to loop 4 bars at a time. And what I want you to do is I want you to go through this list of progressions that I've asked you to superimpose over the top and just practice playing these different chords, creating your own deceptive cadences over the rhythm section, just playing a plain old 2-5-1. And you're going to have to do this a lot, and it's going to be very, very awkward at first. It's going to be a trial and error of what works. One tip I will give you is keep it simple. Use very, very simple arpeggios, triads even. And the more simply that you outline these deceptive cadences, these superimposed chords, the better they're going to sound. Okay, so that's your homework. Use that loop or program in your own loop to iReal. That's just a plain old 2-5-1 over and over and over again. Go down this list and see what you can do. Now, what I'm going to do here at the end of the episode is do exactly what I'm asking you to do. So I'll go right down the list. You'll hear me every time it goes through the 4 bars of the 2-5-1. I'll be playing a different superimposed set of chord changes, a different deceptive cadence over the top of it. So let me know if you have any questions, but really, really take this lesson to heart, because I really think that some of you that are stuck and just don't know how to get to that next level, this could be one of the most valuable things that you can work on and is going to give you some brand new sounds in your playing. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Remember, you can get in touch with me, 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Community Facebook group, or you can always get in touch with me at 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Remember to go and get signed up for the Patreon so that you can see these progressions in action on the PDF as you listen to this episode. It makes everything make so much more sense. 10minutejazzlesson.com. Click on one of the Patreon banners, very small monthly fee, and you get access to all this stuff. This is a long episode, but as I said, it is really, really important. So thank you for sticking with me until the end, and I hope you found some value in this. We will see you all next week with another brand new episode. Hope everybody's staying safe and healthy out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.